This episode is brought to you by One Crescent Towers, one of our adulting partners. Currently available for residential purchases and commercial leasing, this new development is on the sweet spot of a bustling megacity. Yes, that's 11 cities across 3,500 hectares of pure fun. It has a perfect view of the surrounding mountain ranges and cityscapes in the southern metro, and around 30 to 40 minutes in between intersecting and emerging commercial business districts, with an abundance of medical, educational, and food options across a developing commercial landscape. Whether you're looking to relax after a whole day's adulting or if your company needs that space for your employees, One Crescent Tower should have that covered. For more information, you can book a virtual discovery meeting or call through the link on this post.
Welcome to Oops, I Adulted, the podcast where we discuss uncomfortable truths with uncomfortable jokes. We're here to remind you that adulting doesn't need to be serious and grim. It can also be happy and funny, just with back pain.
Hello again, and welcome back to Oops, I Adulted, the podcast where we talk about grown-up topics without trying to put you to sleep. And today we're getting into the slightly uncomfortable but necessary conversation about why DEI is still such a big deal in 2025. If you're thinking, haven't we fixed this already? My company has a diversity statement on their website. Well, let's look at the facts. Despite all the progress we've made, and yes, there has been progress, big gaps still exist in many areas. Let's start with jobs. Women make up nearly half the workforce but hold only 26% of the top leadership positions in big companies. And women of color, just 4% according to McKinsey & Company in 2021. Yes, that's not a typo, 4%. For people with disabilities, the situation is even tougher. In 2023, only about 21% of people with disabilities were employed, compared to a staggering 65% of people without disabilities. And according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics in 2023, even if they do find work, they often earn less. About 66 cents for every dollar earned by workers without disabilities. For LGBTQ plus workers, especially transgender people, job discrimination remains a big problem, with the unemployment rate for transgender people likely 3 times higher than the average, and more than a quarter have lost a job because of bias, according to James and team's research in 2016.
No way!
Education shows similar patterns. Students with disabilities graduate high school at much lower rates than their peers without disabilities. For LGBTQ plus youth, hostile school environments lead to more absences, lower grades, and less chance of going to college, with transgender students facing the worst challenges according to GLSEN's research in 2019.
Whoa!
According to Yotsoni's 2021 research, people from marginalized groups often receive the worst health care. People with disabilities report that healthcare providers don't often understand their needs or assume their health problems are just because of their disability. For LGBTQ plus people, research found that discrimination from doctors' lack of knowledge about their specific health needs and insurance gaps lead to worse health outcomes, according to IOM in 2011. But why, you ask? Isn't discrimination illegal? Don't we have laws against this stuff? Good question. Yes, we have laws. No, they haven't fixed everything. Because, plot twist, a lot of what happens isn't about people being deliberately mean. It's about systems and unconscious biases that affect decisions in ways we might not even realize. Research shows that we all have unconscious biases, or assumptions we make without thinking about them. Even people with good intentions make biased decisions that create disadvantages for certain groups, according to Greenwald and Krieger's 2006 research. For example, studies show that identical resumes get different responses based solely on the name at the top, which means resumes with names that sound black get fewer callbacks than identical resumes with the names that sound white, according to Bertrand and Melanathan's 2004 research as well.
Oh man!
Interestingly, in 2011, Amory and Tilchik found similar studies against people perceived to be disabled or LGBTQ+. Beyond individual biases, there are barriers built into how organizations work, like including hiring processes that favor certain groups, review systems that rely on gut feelings rather than clear standards, or workplace cultures that reward certain styles. According to Bruyère's 2019 research for people with disabilities, physical spaces and technology that aren't accessible create massive barriers. So think about it. If you can't get into the building for an interview, your qualifications don't even matter. For LGBTQ+ people, everyday things like forms with only male and female options, or benefit policies that unintentionally exclude same-sex partners, create problems, according to Collins' 2016 research. Personally, my opinion, simply relabel it as biological in terms of the category, along with a gender option. In 2018, researchers Powell and Menendian point out that fixing these system problems require changing the systems themselves, not just making people aware of biases, and it's just not enough to say, I'll try to be less biased. We actually need to change how things work.
Hello there, fellow reluctant adults. Just taking a quick break to ask a favour from you and your friends to hit those like, follow, and share buttons while you listen. It inspires us to research the things you probably didn't want to know. And now, back to pretending we understand life and its mysteries.
Our population is changing, creating even more reasons for effective DEI practices. According to Frey's 2018 research, younger generations are more diverse in terms of race, ethnicity, religion, and other characteristics. In the United States alone, people under 18 are now so diverse that no single racial or ethnic group makes up a majority. Similarly, younger generations have different understandings of gender and sexuality. A 2021 Gallup survey found that 21% of Gen Z adults identify as LGBTQ+, compared to just 4% of Gen X, according to Jones' 2022 research. In the US, according to the CDC back in 2020, the number of Americans with disabilities are increasing as well. About 27% of Americans now live with a disability, and that number will grow as the population ages. At the same time, our global economy means businesses work across cultures and serve diverse customers. According to Page's 2017 research, organizations need to understand different perspectives and create inclusive practices. And as societies become more diverse, the costs of excluding people, both economic and social, increase. Okay, you might be thinking, this all sounds important but overwhelming. What am I supposed to do about these huge problems? I'm just trying to make it to Friday. That's a fair point, and it brings us to the purpose of DEI efforts, which we'll explore more in our next episode. And here's a preview. DEI initiatives aim to create organizations that reflect the communities they serve, build inclusive cultures where everyone can contribute fully, develop fair systems, and build skills for working in these diverse environments. These aren't just fancy ideas. They're practical strategies for addressing the challenges we've discussed. And while no one expects you personally to solve centuries of problems, understanding these challenges is the first step toward being a part of the solution. We invite you to notice one thing in your community and workplace that might create barriers for someone. Share your observations with us on social media because awareness is the first step towards change. This has been Oops, I Adulted, and this episode was brought to you by One Crescent Tower, where the curve meets the skyline. Thank you very much, and until next time, keep adulting, or at least doing your best.
Well, that's all the adulting we can handle for this episode. If you've made it this far, we understand if you were not sleeping and were only resting your eyes, so congratulations. You're better at this than we are. We're hoping you learned something new just as we did. After all, that's what adulting is all about. Thanks, and we'll catch you on the next episode.